Hi guys, thanks for tuning in back to this channel, and if you're new here, my name is Angela and you're most welcome. And if you have tuned in today and you have not subscribed to this channel, please I request you to do so. In one of the comments from the last video that I posted, there is somebody that requested me to share my journey for learning French, or for it to help me with my immigration process. So that is what we're going to talk about today, coming right up. So you may be well aware that French is one of the official languages of Canada, aside from English. So if you are a French speaker or a bilingual, you have a cutting edge, or you have an added advantage even in the job market. Once you become a resident, or once you are in the Canadian soil, it really works well for you. But it doesn't end there, because for French speakers, or for being a bilingual, you are added like 50 bonus points for your express entry profile if you're able to score NCLC 7 and above in the official French tests that are recognized by the Canadian government for Canada PR process, and that is the TEF Canada or the TCF Canada. So yeah, today we are going to talk about why you should consider learning French to improve like your chances of getting selected to apply for permanent residency for Canada. And first of all, we are going to start with my own journey. So I started learning French when I was in high school, and that is when was in Form 1. It was optional, so I decided to select it because it just looked fancy. And my elder sister had taken French, I think up to Form 4. And I just found it interesting when she would speak some of the phrases and the sentences. So I thought, okay, yeah, this might be cool. But it wasn't really easy for me. And you should know that learning a second language or a foreign language is not the easiest thing. And considering the fact that it's even easier when you're learning it at an earlier age, maybe in high school or even in primary school, it gets even more difficult if you start to learn when you are much older. But it was really difficult for me, and I thought that at the end of the day, the goal is to get an overall grade that is high enough to allow me to go to the university. And I thought that since I'm not doing so well in French, I wouldn't really want that to be an option. I also had like agriculture, that was the other option. So I had to weigh between agriculture and French, and I was doing quite well. I was like an S student in agriculture, so I decided to drop French in Form 2 and just continue with agriculture. But down the line, I came to meet French again in the university. I was selected to pursue a bachelor in hotel and hospitality management, and for all the students that were studying like tourism related courses, it was mandatory to take a foreign language, and we were to select between Spanish, German or French. So for me, since I already had a background in French, I thought it would be cool to continue with this one. And at that point, I was more mature and I understood why I wanted to learn French, so I gave it particular interest. But to be honest, the kind of French that we were being taught at the university was not really French that you could use like at professional level or anything. It wasn't well structured and it was just kind of weird. So once I went through the first semester and I felt like I'm not really getting the most out of it, I decided to parallel and to join Alliance Française, which is a French institute. It's an institute that is dedicated to like offering French courses and even international exams that are related to French. So I spoke to my dad about it, and he agreed to pay for me like to attend French classes at Alliance Française. And the good thing about the course that I took, it wasn't really packed. Like I didn't used to have classes throughout the day. So there were some free hours, especially during the afternoon or late afternoon, that would allow me to attend French classes. But most importantly, if I come to think about it, the French classes used to be, I think, from 5 to 7, something like that. So of course I would be able to attend after classes. So I would go 5 days a week, and then Saturday we used to have conversation classes, and I really grew my like French speaking abilities. I studied French for 4 years from level 1, 2, 3 and 4. But essentially French can take you only 1 year, because every level would take like 4 months to study level 1, and then to study level 2, level 3, level 4. They were all 4 months each. So if you are well you structure yourself well, you can achieve at least a level 3 in 1 year. So don't think like, okay, I need to take 4 years to get to the level of proficiency. No, it was because the semesters, you know, we had like semester 1 and semester 2, and there was a time, like a couple of months, where we used to be away from school anyway, so it was not possible to finish all the 4 levels in that short while. So yeah, I attained level B2, which is a level 4, but the highest is actually level 6, level C2. So fast forward to 2020. By the way, I graduated in 2010, and that was the last time that I took my French exam. The last French exam, level 4, was in 2010. So 10 years later, when I started my immigration process, I learned that actually if I took French, it would be beneficial for me. But when I started to like even try to speak or to converse, it was totally difficult. Imagine 10 years of not using a particular language. It is very highly likely that you lose a lot of vocabulary, and that it becomes totally almost impossible for you to use it as a medium of communication. Of course, I would understand if somebody spoke French to me, I would understand, but expressing myself was total chaos. If I tried to speak with somebody in French, I would get completely blocked. But I would read and understand most of the things. I would hear most of the things. Writing was not very good, because once you lose vocabulary, even writing becomes a problem, because you don't really know what to write about. And just like English, in the French test, you are also tested for your listening abilities, speaking, reading, and writing, the 4 language abilities. So I started to prepare. I really had to take myself back to level 1. I went to the internet and I tried to remember the course book that I was using to study French, and it was even difficult to remember the name. It took me a while before I remembered that it was actually Connexion. But it was really a good book, a good textbook that we used to buy from Alliance Française. It was like 2,000 Kenya shillings, and it used to come with audio CDs, and those were really helpful. But I downloaded the book, the PDF form, from the internet, but I was not able to get the audio. So it was kind of difficult, but I had to work with whatever I had, because nowadays with the internet we have so many resources online, and I just had to use whatever was available. But long story short, I had to go back to like study or go through level 1 material, level 2 material, level 3 material, and level 4, all by myself. It's not like I went back to school. Something that I am gifted on is being able to just teach myself stuff, especially the foreign languages. I was able to teach myself Spanish. Okay, I had an introduction with a Spanish teacher, just level 1, but I continued up to around level 3 by myself. I taught myself German, level 1 until level 2, until like that. So anyway, yeah, so it took a lot of discipline and dedication. Like I would study French like somebody who is studying for a PhD. And at the same time, of course, I was preparing for English, so it was not very easy. It was a little bit of a challenge, but it was a challenge that I had to overcome, because I knew that it would help. So yeah, I used a lot of resources online. I used YouTube, because there was some, you know, like maybe lessons here and there. And most of all, because the main purpose of studying French at that point was to prepare for the exam, either TEF or TCF. I would use like what is this called, TV5 Monde, and it had a lot of learning resources and even preparation materials for TCF Canada. So I would do a lot of practice with the materials that were available over there, and just try to gauge myself. Following conversations was kind of difficult, honestly. If you're trying to follow a conversation, listening to a conversation and answering the questions at the same time, it was kind of tricky at first. And with any other language, even if you're practicing or you're preparing for English, you need a lot of study, of practice. So I did that, and at some point I enrolled to some like forum. Like there is a site that is called Canadian Dreamers. I enrolled for I signed up for that, I think for 2 months or so. So they provide like preparation materials for past exams. Like you get access to past papers so that you can use for your own revision. So I used that. And then I had a friend, an Algerian friend that I met in Qatar, and she used to like help me to practice speaking. It was difficult, I can't even imagine. So for her, she's a native French speaker, because for Algerians, French is their official language. So we would meet every day at Lulu, Barwa City, in the evening, and we would speak. So I would teach her English and she would teach me French. So it took a lot of discipline, it took a lot of resources and methods to be able to achieve a high enough score. But anyway, 3 months later, I decided to enroll for, or to sign up for a French test. And I was amazed that when I took the test at first, I really did well in speaking. I couldn't believe it. And even the teacher that took my oral exam was like, wow. And she is a native French speaker, a lady. And she was like, wow, your French is really good. Where did you learn French from? And I told her, actually I learned it in Kenya like 10 years ago, and I've just been practicing on my own, because really by that time I hadn't met this Dihia, the French speaker. So at that point I was practicing on my own. So I would speak to myself, I would speak to the mirror, I would just think in French, everything. I just turned my world into French. In fact, those are the things that really helped when it came to speaking, thinking in French, trying to watching lots and lots of movies in French, listening to French radio. There is a radio, a French channel called RFI, Radio France International. So I would listen to RFI or TV5 Monde and any other resources that I could lay my hands on that would just improve my listening skills and help me to build vocabulary. So to be honest, I studied a lot, and simply that was my journey. But just like English, I had to take French 3 times, the French test 3 times. So the first time I got a 7. I needed to get 7 for me to get the 50 bonus points that I talked about in the beginning of this video. But I ended up getting a 7, and 1 7 was in speaking, the other 7 was in reading. And then in listening I got a 6, and then I got a 4 in writing. Writing was quite a big challenge. So I continued to practice, and the first test I took in September. So I took another test in December after practicing for another 3 months. And that second time it was really big challenge. They had introduced new texts and stuff. Anyway, so that one I got 2 9s. 2 9s. I needed 7. I got 2 9s. 1 9 was in reading, 1 9 was in listening. In writing I got a 5. I improved, I went a notch higher. And then speaking I got a 6. I don't know what happened, but I went down on speaking. I spoke really well, I spoke really eloquently, but I was not really on topic. Kind of I deviated from the topic. I did not observe the rules, so I lost points there. But anyway, I already lost in writing, so it didn't really matter. So I didn't pass. I didn't get my 7. So when I took that test and I got my results back, that was when my boss told me, when I was still in Qatar, that I'm not going to be given the chance to take another test. And that's where I decided to quit and come back to Kenya and take the test from here, because for me it was really important for me to get that high score to be able to get a selection for to apply for permanent residency. So when I came to Kenya, and remember when I took this test, it was in the midst of turmoil. I had just lost a close family member. My dad was on the operation. My dad had just gotten operated. In fact, the morning that I went to take the French test is when my dad had just come out of the operation room for brain surgery. And it was really a difficult time, but I really had to trust in God. Remember, the day that I enrolled for the test and I thought that I would have enough time to prepare, was the day that my nephew got into an accident. And then during that time when I thought that I could prepare, a few days later he passed on, and I didn't get time to prepare for this test. I just had to trust in God. But God came through for me, because I ended up getting now the last time a 7. The lowest that I had was actually 7 in writing, but it was about what I expected. And then I got an 8 in reading and an 8 in listening, and then I got a 9. This time I got a 9 in speaking. And it took the fact that I didn't get enough time to prepare when I was in Kenya, it did not really hinder me from passing the test because I had already prepared enough before I came back to Kenya. I had already done enough preparation, and this was just maybe last touch-ups. I already really knew how to go about the tests and stuff. So I ended up getting my 7, 8, 8, and a 9. And in fact, I would have gotten like 3 9s, but I missed just 1 point to get a 9 in listening and 1 point to get a 9 in reading. So I brought my points a little bit lower. But still, at the end of the day, by having made that sacrifice to study French, which took me quite a while, I ended up getting 65 bonus points on my express entry profile for having taken French. So long story short, French is really important to the fact that it gives you more points for your express entry if you are able to get a band 7 and above, and also the fact that it really opens up for you opportunities in the job market, because bilinguals are really highly regarded for most positions, especially like in the bigger cities. So yeah, definitely it's not an easy journey, but it is worth the while. And the best place that I would recommend for you to go and learn French is at Alliance Française. And I suppose every single country has Alliance Française, but to be honest, in Qatar there was no Alliance Française, but there was Institut Français. Institut Français du Qatar. So if you are thinking to learn French in Qatar, the French Institute in Qatar can be a big help. You just need to go online and you'll get the information. And for Kenya, we have Alliance Française in Mombasa, we have Alliance Française in Nairobi, and we have Alliance Française in Eldoret. Personally, I studied from the Eldoret branch, and it's still the same standards. I believe there is also an Alliance Française in Kisumu. So yeah, studying French, being a bilingual is a really big plus, because honestly, without French, I would not even have come close to getting the high points that I needed for express entry, and it would have been just really a big waste of time. So I encourage you out there, start your journey today. Maybe try to look at online resources on the internet and just try to familiarize yourself. Try to introduce yourself, not familiarize yourself. Trying to introduce yourself to the language, and then if you feel like it's something that you can actually grasp, then why not enroll to Alliance Française? And in any case, even if you don't really get a band 7, if you can get a band 4 and above, 5 and above, or I think 4 and above, it will still give you a few bonus points, maybe 3, maybe 4, depending on how much you will score. Personally, I got, without the bonus points, I had 15 extra points because of having taken French. So I got 15 extra points on my express entry profile for French, for having like the second language. And then for bilingualism, I got 50 bonus points, which meant 65. So I challenge you today,